guys, John here with Lincoln Industrial, bringing you the latest tips and troubleshooting advice for our products. In today's video, we're going to show you the proper procedure to load a grease cartridge and prime a grease gun. Whether you have a lever or pistol grip manual gun, pneumatic or power loop or electronic grease gun, the priming process is the same for them all. If this is the first time using your gun, begin by unthreading the grease tube assembly from the head of the grease gun. Next, pull down on the T-handle and using the notch in the rod, lock it into the tube end cap. Tube is now ready to accept a cartridge. Before inserting the cartridge, inspect for any dents or crushed ends. Do not use tubes if these issues are found, as they may cause the follower assembly to hang up in the tube or cause lubricant bypass behind the follower. Also be sure to follow the instructions on the tubes. Many of the reputable manufacturers will designate which end of the cartridge should be inserted into the grease gun tube assembly first. Once the cartridge is seated in the tube, pull the tab or remove the male plug from the exposed end and thread the tube assembly back onto the head of the gun. When the tube assembly is fully tightened, release the plunger rod from the end cap notch. This allows the spring to push up on the follower assembly and apply pressure on the grease in the cartridge. At this point, there will be a decent sized air pocket between the cartridge and gun head inlet we need to remove, and this can be accomplished in two ways. First method uses the installed filler bleeder valve or vent valves located on the heads of many of our grease guns. Open the ports a few turns and allow the air to vent until grease expels from the threads or vent port. After grease begins to flow from the ports, tighten the valves back up and cycle the gun. Second method was meant mainly for grease guns without vents, but does apply as an alternate priming method for all our grease guns. Unthread the grease tube assembly 1 to 2 turns to allow the air pocket to escape through the threads between the grease gun head and tube assembly. You may expedite either process by locking the plunger rod into the follower assembly so more pressure may be applied to the grease in order to force the air out the vent or tube assembly threads. Stop when you see either grease expel from the threads or vent, or the rod has no more forward movement. Once complete, tighten the tube to the head or close the vent and cycle the gun. With the air bled and grease flowing correctly from the coupler, apply a small amount of pressure to the plunger rod and twist until the rod freely slides into the grease tube assembly. With the rod in place and out of the way, the gun is ready for use. A few points to consider concerning the lubricant when operating your grease gun. If the lubricant you are using is very tacky or thick, this process may take a little longer. This is especially true if working in a cold environment. Some greases tend to flow slower than normal and possibly lead to loss of prime. In this case, cycle your gun slowly, allowing for full strokes of the handle for manual units, reduce your air pressure down if using a pneumatic gun, or set electronic power louvers to the low setting, and allow a little more time for the grease to enter the chamber. If necessary, pre-pack the gun head to leave as little of an air pocket as possible. Then follow the final priming steps to reprime your gun, and you'll be ready to go. That'll do it for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at the information below. Also, please be sure to check the video description for additional information and links to our website. If you like this video and would like to see any future tutorials and relevant Lincoln product information, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to receive a message when we upload new and exciting videos. I am John with the Lincoln Tech Support Team. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
You OTC guys, I'm like wondering what you're doing at night, because there's so many crazy tools you guys have. I mean, I've never seen this kind of lot of tools. So grease guns today. Look at this assortment of grease guns.
Definitely got a nice selection of grease guns.
Man.
One is a lever operated one right here. Then we have a pistol grip. This is kind of a little bit nicer because you can just one-handed operate this grease gun. And last but not least is this is the Cadillac. It's air operated, plugs into your shop air, and now you're free to just go ahead and grease with one hand and just pulling the trigger. Makes it so much easier and faster.
Pneumatic?
Everybody needs one of them. Man, that is the way to go. You can go through a lot of grease with that one.
You have a grease gun? Yeah, no problem. I got you. Man.
The nice thing about our grease guns too is that ours come with a 24-inch hose on here for, like you're showing before, to get into really tight areas. Most grease guns come with a standard 18-inch. Ours comes with a 24-inch hose. Request from the field, just so you got more movement to get into different areas.
Sure. What in the world is that?
This is a grease zerk unblocker. Basically take this out, this pops out, pump some grease into here, put this back on, put this onto your grease zerk that's plugged, smack that with a hammer. It'll drive the grease out and out of the plugged grease zerk, and then that grease zerk will take grease again.
Crazy.
That is very handy.
Now what is this big pack over here?
This pack of grease fittings is just some accessories for your grease gun. A lot of grease zerks use a needle type of fitting on there.
Yep.
Here is one that is set up for a like a ball joint, so you don't have to get on it square. The grease zerk kind of slides in this way. And then just another flexible hose and some other for different types of grease zerks, or on some of your farm machinery and stuff, you need to inject right into the bearing. So this will go right underneath the lip seal, and you can squirt your grease right into the bearing itself.
Don't use that for an IV.
Don't use that for an IV. Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
Okay, now look at this thing.
Last but not least, that is cool. We have that. We came out with that, and it was like, I don't know if that's really the way to go, but we have gotten a lot of requests from people for that. It's a tool to hold the grease.
You put it in, I'll hold it.
Okay, yeah.
It's supposed to be mounted to the wall.
Yeah, mount it to the wall.
There you go.
On a construction vehicle, farm tractor. If you're in a machining area, it can be put on your machine.
Plus, you just never know where it is.
That's right. You know where it is. Nice bright blue color, so it sticks out.
And it's big in the toolbox.
That's exactly right.
I think you should make a magnetic one.
You should. That would be a great idea.
Do I get paid for the royalties?
Definitely.
No, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Hey everybody, Jay at Lock and Lube, and today we're talking about the L&L 151 lever action grease gun. I've taken everything out of the box here, and I'll show you what's inside. We'll put it together and get it working. So inside the bag, you've got the grease gun itself, and then you've got our hose assembly. You'll see you've got an inline hose swivel, high quality 20-inch grease hose, and the Lock and Lube grease coupler on the end, of course. In here, you'll see that we've included the packaging with the spare seal kit. We do this so you've got a nice bright package, easy way to hang it up. Keep track of this because you may not need it for months or years, but if you ever do need to rebuild the coupler, replace the seal in the jaws, you can do it easily with the parts that are included in here. So I'm gonna get this thing put together and then we'll talk about some of the features. I'm gonna use some thread tape. You don't have to, but I wanna build this thing once and leave it together for a long time, so we've got the stuff lying around, we're just gonna use it. This grease gun is rated to 10,000 PSI, so these connections are the points where the grease may leak. We do attach the swivel to the hose here for you. If you want to tape that connection as well, it should be pretty easy to just loosen this up and put some thread tape on there and screw it back together. Alrighty, so now we've got all our connections taped up here, from the swivel into the grease gun, from the hose into the swivel, and then the hose into the coupler. Now on the head, you'll see we've got a bulk loader port, we've got an air bleeder valve to help with priming, and then up on top here, this is our patent pending loop and lock design. So you can lock the coupler on there, and then when you're not using it, keeps the whole thing clean, prevents dirt and grime from getting in either to the grease gun or the grease coupler, prevents the hose from flying around, and gives you an easy way to either hang, store, or carry the grease gun. Grease gun's going to build up to 10,000 PSI in pressure, and for loading and priming, you've got a follower rod that'll lock off to the side when you're loading your cartridge, and then it'll slide right back in, or if you need help priming and want to force some air pockets out, it can also lock to the plate that's inside there.